Welcome to UTV Soundwave, inside the world of live broadcasting. I'm Theo Marshall.
And I'm Eva Lawson. Together, we'll take you behind the scenes of live production, replays, audio engineering, and everything that keeps the broadcast world running.
Let's dive in. Sound might be invisible, but here's a mind-blowing fact. In professional broadcasting, up to 70% of perceived quality comes from audio alone. Today we're exploring why what you hear matters more than what you see. Welcome to the first podcast by the University of Television.
That's such a fascinating statistic, and it really explains why viewers will tolerate grainy video but bail the moment audio gets choppy. Welcome to the first podcast by the University of Television. Today we're diving into the power of sound in broadcasting, why it shapes emotions, storytelling, and the entire viewing experience.
That's so true. People are surprisingly forgiving with video issues, but the moment audio drops, even for a second, it's chaos. Audio carries the emotion, the energy, and the storytelling. Viewers might tolerate a glitchy video feed, but silence? That's unacceptable. It's like watching a thriller movie with a missing soundtrack. Suddenly, all the tension disappears. In live sports, that excitement is driven by the commentators, the crowd, and the ambient sounds. Without it, the experience just falls apart.
Well, that certainly puts things in perspective. Though I imagine most people don't realise just how complex modern broadcast audio has become.
Oh, you should see some of the setups we're running now. Last week I worked an event where we were managing 128 separate audio channels over a single network cable using Dante. Back in the analog days, that would have required a truck full of cables.
That makes me wonder about the evolution of broadcast audio. How did we get from basic analog to these sophisticated digital systems?
Well, it's pretty remarkable actually. In the early days of broadcasting, we were limited to simple microphone setups and basic mixing. Now we're essentially running audio computers that can process and route signals in ways that would have seemed like science fiction even 20 years ago.
Though I've noticed some engineers still swear by certain analog equipment, especially for live music broadcasts.
That's right. There's this interesting divide in the industry. Digital gives us incredible precision and flexibility, but analog has this warmth that some people just love. I actually keep both types of gear in my kit, because sometimes you need that specific sound character.
Speaking of sound character, let's talk about microphones. I've always been fascinated by how different types serve such specific purposes.
Oh, microphones are like different paintbrushes for an artist. You've got your dynamic mics that can handle a rock concert without breaking a sweat, your condensers that can pick up a whisper from across the room, and shotgun mics that can focus on a single voice in a crowd.
That's such a perfect analogy, and I imagine choosing the wrong one can really mess up a broadcast.
You have no idea. I once saw someone try to use a sensitive condenser mic at a NASCAR event. The poor thing practically had a nervous breakdown from all the engine noise. But you know what's really crucial? The way we monitor all these audio sources.
Now that's something I've been meaning to ask about. How do you keep track of so many audio channels during a live broadcast?
It's like conducting an orchestra while juggling. We use multiple monitoring systems, headphones, speakers, meters. But the most important tool is still your ears. I've seen engineers who can pick out a slight buzz or hum that even expensive equipment doesn't detect.
That level of expertise must take years to develop.
Absolutely does. And you know what's funny? The technology keeps advancing, but those fundamental skills, being able to really listen, to understand how sound behaves in different spaces, those haven't changed since the early days of radio.
Though I imagine the stakes are much higher now, especially with live events being broadcast globally.
You're not kidding. Last year, I worked on an international sporting event where we had to coordinate audio feeds in 7 different languages, plus ambient sound, referee mics, and field effects. One wrong button push, and millions of viewers could have ended up hearing the wrong language feed.
That kind of pressure must make backup systems crucial.
And it's no less complicated than vision engineers managing dirty, clean, and clean signals simultaneously. Some cameras in HDR, some not, forcing them to convert signals on the fly, balancing precision, speed, and expertise in real time. Because mastering the craft means embracing the challenge. And live TV is all about the challenge. But coming back to audio, we live by the rule of redundancy. Primary system, backup system, and backup for the backup. But in most cases, the real backup is the human factor. We have different audio positions. Engineers who set up and operate control rooms. Those responsible for commentary booths and main audio mixers overseeing the overall broadcast sound. It's all about the people, because the gear itself doesn't fail often. Here in the UK, we love Calrec, Artemis for example. Meanwhile, in continental Europe, they've fallen in love with Lawo.
Well, that certainly puts things in perspective about how complex modern broadcasting has become.
And you know what's really exciting? We're just scratching the surface. With immersive audio, object-based broadcasting, and AI-assisted mixing coming into play, the next few years are going to be revolutionary for broadcast sound.
That's such an intriguing glimpse into the future of broadcasting. It really shows how far we've come from those early days of basic microphones and simple mixers.
Exactly right. Whether it's analog or digital, basic or complex, it all comes down to one thing: making sure the audience feels like they're right there in the moment. Because in the end, sound isn't just what we hear, it's how we feel the experience. And let's, for example, talk about the Joy Awards, the main film awards for the Middle East, a kind of Oscars but in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly. And behind all that glamour, there's an insane amount of technical precision, especially in audio. The main audio mixer in the OB van, for instance, is essentially the command center for all sound.
Right. Handling everything from presenters' mics to EVS playouts, pre-recorded segments, and even making sure the crowd reactions come through naturally.
Not to mention the transitions. The mixer has to balance live speeches, music cues, and awards announcements seamlessly. Every second counts, and they have to adjust levels on the fly to match the dynamic nature of the broadcast.
And then there's the music mixer, working with multiple live bands and 2 orchestras across different stages. That's a whole other level of complexity.
Absolutely. They have to ensure every note is perfectly balanced, even as performances change in real time. And with so many inputs coming in, it takes serious skill to make sure the live music enhances the broadcast rather than overwhelming it.
And let's not forget the Grams operator, the one responsible for all the sound effects and stings that set the tone. The Grams operator is in charge of triggering entrance music, bumpers, and sound effects at precisely the right moments. The name comes from the early days of radio and television, where sound effects were played from gramophone records, or grams for short. Even though today it's all digital, the name's stuck.
Yeah, their job might seem simple, but it's all about precision. A delay of even half a second on an entrance cue or applause bed can throw off the entire flow of the show.
So, when you think about it, producing the Joy Awards is like orchestrating a symphony. Everything has to be perfectly timed.
Exactly. It's not just about knowing the tech. It's about teamwork, adaptability, and thinking on your feet. That's what makes these awards not just a spectacle, but a technical masterpiece.
And you know, here at the University of Television, we try to make show business, live TV, and outside broadcasting sexy. That's why we talk about these things. We hope people will enjoy this form of narration and see the magic behind the scenes.
Exactly. But let's wait for the feedback, because honestly, the feedback from our listeners is everything for us.
And if they love it, there will be more.
Guys, Do you want more? Let us know. Leave a comment and tell us what you think.
And that's it. This was the first ever audio podcast from the University of Television.
A huge thank you to everyone for tuning in, and of course, thanks to you.
Thanks to you as well. And to all of you out there, stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.